Hey everybody, welcome back to my layout. This will be a layout update for March 2019. Let's take a look at what I've been working on over the past month. So, since last month I finished this Athearn ready to run SD60. Put a Soundtraxx II in it. That's the EMD-2 sound file. Pretty neat actually. There's a lot of fun features that the older Tsunami ones don't have. So I literally just got it working today. So I've been. The LED lighting turned out really nice on this one, and it was actually the first time that I've had every single LED worked on it first try. So I am getting better at it. It's a nice feeling when you go and power it up for the first time and all the lights work. You don't have to mess around with it. Wow. So in addition to the decoder and the speaker and the LEDs, you saw last update I had put the PTC antennas on up here, additional antenna, and I added a few more decals just by looking at prototype pictures. There's a couple back here that I added, and a fire extinguisher on the long hood, and some little kind of warning labels. Just working strictly off the prototype pictures, and I was shooting for the July, kind of around July 2014, because after that, for some reason, this thing got some really ugly spray painted on road numbers. I didn't want to have to go and renumber it, so I went with the summer of 2014 look. One other thing I added to this locomotive that I haven't done in the past is the cylinder brake line here and the inner sanding line, and I did it on all 4 trucks. Something I never tried before. I got the idea from my friend Justin, whose layout you've probably seen, the Karamat and Kinghorn subs layout. He's an awesome modeler and diesel locomotive builder, and he always adds these to his locomotives. So I thought they looked really great, so I wanted to try it, and I think they turned out okay. They are just a 26 gauge floral wire, nothing fancy, just bent them kind of by hand, drilled the holes right into the plastic of the truck, and then just glued them in with CA. I'll throw up a couple pictures here, kind of the process, and give you an idea of how I did that with that floral wire. I think I've already found a few places I could improve on, like these two here on the back. These ones aren't the greatest. They could have been a little bit better. They're kind of a wonky. They don't match. And you saw in the photos, I had to straighten the floral wire, and that's really important if you're going to do these cylinder lines. If these aren't like arrow straight, they kind of look weird. So definitely have to run that through a wire straightener or something so that you can get really nice straight wire. So this SD60 is completely done now, and it's in service on the layout. You can see we've already got it pulling a train, and we've been running it a bit. It runs pretty good for having not ran for so many years. I mean, this thing sat in a box for four years before I put a decoder in it. So definitely nice to get it out of the box and get it on the layout, put some miles on it. So watch for this guy in upcoming videos. We'll probably put it in the lead. And the sound is great. The Soundtraxx EMD-2 sound file is awesome. The Soundtraxx Tsunami 2 decoder on an iPhone 4S speaker, and it sounds really good. So watch for this locomotive leading in upcoming videos. So that kind of leads into the next spot on the layout that we were working on is again the Banff station platform and parking lot here. Just get these buses out of the way so you can see the detail that went into this curbside. So of course the station I picked to model has got to have one of the most complicated station platforms out there, and it starts all the way from here and goes all the way down to just about the end of the curve there. It's about, it's close to 18 feet long, this platform. So I built the whole thing out of 1/8 hardboard, which ends up being a little bit too thick for a concrete curb. So I took the whole thing after I had cut the shapes out of it and all the parking stalls and everything, and I sanded it down to kind of get it down closer to about 2.5 millimeters, which would represent a an 8-inch concrete curb. And I left the station where the station's gonna sit. That's the only place I didn't sand because kind of want to have a little bit of a slope, like just ever so slightly sloping away from the building, because just on the real thing, you don't ever want your building foundation to be right level with the terrain around it. It's always going to have a little bit of a slope to it, and just pavement kind of heaves over time and stuff. So everything else is sanded down, and the station platform is the only thing that's not in this view. So looking further down right to the end of the station platform, you can see this little jot out there. That's a speeder shed, or it used to be the speeder shed. It's still there to this day, and the rails are actually still in the pavement. So that's going to be a cool thing to model. So that'll be at the far end of the station platform there. So the goofy shape of these parking stalls is all based on the real thing, and I used the best kind of Google satellite images I could find to kind of get it as right as I can. And I had taken measurements last year of some of these parking stalls so I could kind of get a baseline to work off for scaling. And what I've got is pretty close to the real thing. The parking stalls are all the 1:1 scale size in HO, and the only thing that's different is this section here. I've compressed that a bit. The real thing is just like anything in HO scale model railroading, you have to compress it down just to fit it. So that was one piece of the station platform that I thought wouldn't be too bad to compress part of it, because it's kind of a redundant scene where it's just this really long parking lot. So I shrunk it down. It's about 70% of the real thing, and then like I said, the stalls and everything are all the actual real size. So if we just pan, you can see this is the front entrance of the station here, and there's a little flower bed and kind of a visitor's information thing with some podiums that have plaques on them talking about CP. This is kind of an interesting spot here. I'm not exactly sure how long, but for quite a few years, Greyhound, the Greyhound bus station for Banff, this is where it was. So there was always usually one Greyhound bus parked, in this stall during the day, and all these people traveling. Parcel service for the entire town of Banff came right here to this stall, and there's usually a Greyhound bus parked there. Unfortunately, Greyhound no longer serves Western Canada, so that's kind of a scene of the past, but we're going to recreate that forever on my layout, so it'll live on in this scene. And if we just keep panning, you can see the end of the station there and the speeder shed here. One quick note about getting the angles right when you're modeling stuff like this. So like I was talking about the using Google Images. So if you can see what I did here with just took a screenshot of it, moved it into Paint, and then I just, as best I could, put some lines on it on Paint. Because this here is going to be square, so that's a known. And then as best I could, I tried to get this angle here, because it's pretty hard to do measuring the real thing, and I didn't really want to eyeball it. I want to try and get it right. So you do that, then you go and find your old protractor, and you can put that on there, and you can be pretty accurate, I think. I mean, if you're off by 5 degrees, and who cares? But as long as you're pretty close and you kind of capture the feel of the station. So that's one little trick that I use a lot. I use that Google Earth to measure the diameter of the flower bed there, and then scale it down, and then drew it in with the old compass. Hadn't had this thing out for a while. So that station platform's coming along really nicely. A few more little things to do. I got to cut out the hole for the flower bed there. I'm going to sand it down a little bit more. I'd like to get it just a little bit down, a little bit more if I can. And then it'll be kind of confident enough to go ahead and glue it down. So it's just sitting loose now, the whole station platform. This part, the pavement part of it, is glued down, but the station platform hasn't been yet. So once I'm happy with kind of the physical shape of it and the thickness, and I hopefully have everything right, I'm gonna just kind of dive right off the deep end, glue it down, and just go for it. So you can see too on the background, I've painted the pavement, and this is actually probably the third time I painted it. I've been kind of struggling to match the pavement color, and this is a flat kind of primer that I found at Michael's, and it's the closest I've got so far. I was trying to mix my own paint, but it's It's actually quite a bit of paint that I need. It's more than a small airbrush bottle for sure. So I've been trying to mix my own color with varying degrees of success. Definitely one of the hardest things I find to do in model railroading is color matching and mixing paint. So you know I like to work off of photos of the real thing when I'm, you know, modeling. I like to have them close by, especially when I'm trying to get a color right. And I've been struggling so much with this one, I've got even more photos out to help me. And I just made these images quick, finding different views of the station. Some of the photos are mine, some of them are Google Earth, some of them are Street View. Kind of just trying to get a variety. So different pavement colors. Then I take the color dropper on, either you could use Microsoft Paint, I use Corel Draw, and I just make a kind of a paint chip in just one parking lot, how many different colors of gray there are. And I think if you can try and go with the lightest gray and then work with pigments and chalks and weathering and the airbrush, I think that's how I'm going to be able to do it. I don't think you're just going to be able to do it with one color. There's so many different colors in there. You kind of have to start at the base light color and work your way up. Now, I'm definitely not an expert, not claiming to be, and you can judge my work when this is done, because I'm really struggling with this. It's kind of been one of the harder things I've been doing. So the pavement in the Banff parking lot at the station, it's basically the same kind of pavement as the road. The road's probably a little bit more heavily traveled, so you're going to get some different colors there. But same deal, I made up a color swatch for it. There isn't as much variation I find on the roadway, so hopefully this one will be easier. And since they're both black asphalt pavement, I'm hoping that I can get away with using the same color as the base coat. And so I did the same thing, that primer, ultra flat from Michaels, and hopefully that's the color that I can use to build on for weathering the pavement and get it look like a real paved road. This is the color that I got from Michaels. This was pretty much their lightest flat gray that they have. So it's a Design Master surface preparation tool. One thing else that's new since last month, I got this little pub height table and 4 stools to go with it. Kind of had an epiphany, I don't know, 3 weeks ago. I had some people over and they were checking it out, and we were running trains and stuff, and found that it was kind of a long day if you're just standing on concrete all day, and I really didn't have anywhere for them to sit. I had to really search to find a table that was this high, so pub height is 42 inches, and the chairs to go with it. I actually ended up getting the table, came from Amazon. It's like an office type table, commercial thing. And the stools are from Yisk. It was the only place I could find the 42-inch high stools that would fit kind of on a layout. Because I put these ones with backs on the end, but these little ones with no backs, they go on the sides because you don't want the backs of the chair hitting the fascia every time. So it's a cool little hangout spot now, and it's also nice to just sit and run trains. So, alright, so the last thing I've been working on, I started building my kind of homemade airbrushing booth. Nothing fancy to it. It's the size is based on height. It has to fit under the future layout, the future CN layout, which will all kind of be right at the top of that whiteboard there. It had to fit under that, and width I just made it as wide as I could because my computer's on the other side of it here and the sink is right beside it there. So those are the constraints. Angled it to kind of let a little bit more light in there, and it's just made out of 5/8 plywood, same stuff I use for the road bed, held together with screws and glue. Just gave it a quick coat of white drywall primer because I just had some of that laying around. It's pretty spacious on the inside. It's almost 2 feet. It's just under 2 feet, so you can comfortably get your arms in there. Shouldn't be too cramped for airbrushing. You can see I started the roughing in the lighting, so that's just using the same L channel that I used to do the layout lights. I had some of it left over, so just give it a bit of a bend, and you know, it gives the lights a 45-degree angle. And it gives you something to attach the LED strip lights to, which is my plan. I'm going to have LED strip lights go all the way around this, so it should be really nice and bright in there when you're painting. For ventilation, I just got this. This is a Schaefer B148E squirrel cage blower. So pretty simple. Air goes in here, blows out here. So it will mount right on the top like this, and exhaust will be out this way. So I still have to cut a hole here in the top of the booth, and the exhaust comes out here, and that goes up all the way up into the joists. And when we had the house built, I had them add a dryer vent there for having this in mind, so I'll be able to vent my fumes right out of the house, and it shouldn't be a problem. You can paint whatever you want in here. Oh, and I should mention why I chose the squirrel cage is because the motor is not in line of the duct. I've never liked the idea of having the electric motor inside the ducting. Probably doesn't matter with paint, but paint can be flammable, paint fumes, depending on what you're painting. So I just thought better to go with the squirrel cage version where the motor is outside of the piping. So that's why I chose that. There's the model number of that squirrel cage blower. It's a Schaefer B148E. So just looking the other way at the airbrush booth, took advantage of having that nice solid surface there, and I built a little shelf, just kind of cantilevered off of it, because my work desk is always a struggle to keep it clean. I'm always searching for more surface area to put stuff down on, it seems. So nice little shelf on top of that. So that'll catch us up to present day. I just cleaned off the workbench today because I'm going to get started on my next locomotive project. And that's going to be one of these Kato AC4400s. Gonna put another new Tsunami 2 decoder in it. This one's the GE diesel sound file. Same deal, iPhone 4S speaker. Gonna try another one of those in this. Gonna do all LEDs. Probably renumber it to one of the lower numbers. I was thinking maybe 1002. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna be working on over the next month. We're finally out of the deep freeze too. It was plus 10 here today, if you can believe it. So I hope you guys are all having a good wind up to the modeling season here in northern North America. As always, thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you next time.